We'll call the meeting to order. This is the City Commission meeting, Monday, April the 8th. It is 5:30 p.m. Would you please rise for the invocation and the pledge? Heavenly Father, we ask that you watch over this group tonight, that you help us make good decisions for the city of Leesburg. We do this in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this evening we have a couple of proclamations. The first is for the Leesburg High School girls weightlifting team that are the state champions. Whereas the city of Leesburg wishes to congratulate the Leesburg High School Lady Lifters girls weightlifting team for their extraordinary performances throughout the historic 2023-2024 season, and whereas during the 2023-2024 season, the LHS Lady Lifters team won the following: district championship in traditional, regional championship in both traditional and Olympic, and the FHSAA Class 2A State Championship in both Olympic and traditional, becoming the first FHSAA girls weightlifting state champions in Lake County history, and the first girls team to win a state title in any sport in Leesburg High School history. And whereas at the 2023-2024 FHSAA State 2A State Championship meet, the following lifters medaled in their respective weight classes. Justice Davis placed 6th in traditional. Jordan Simpson placed 6th in traditional and 3rd in Olympic. Kayla Nord placed 4th in Olympic and was state runner-up in traditional. Nevaeh Wells placed 3rd in Olympic and was state champion in traditional. Caitlin Brady placed 3rd in traditional and was state champion in Olympic. Amia Jones placed 3rd in traditional and was state champion in Olympic. And Mylisa LeBron Escudero was state runner-up in Olympic and state champion in traditional. And whereas while the sport of weightlifting is in many ways an individual effort, team spirit and support are an essential part of each lifter's success, and the members of the 2023-2024 LHS Lady Lifters team are as follows: Caitlin Brady, Mylisa LeBron Escudero, Rhea Patel, Kayla Nord, Justice Davis, Jordan Simpson, Amia Jones, Nevaeh Wells, Josanas Perillo, Cameron Boyer, Haley Jones, Danny McCormick, Jasmine Benton, Hannah Stubbs, Jaisa Lockhart, Caitlin Lips, Yadanar Lang, Elena Camps, Lacey Whitman, Asia Wiggins, Katrina Morse, Briley Webb, Korea Lopez, and Asia Montgomery. Head coach Josh Boyer and assistant coach Taylor Woods. Now, therefore, I, James A. Burry, the mayor of the city of Leesburg, do hereby proclaim the exemplary sportsmanship and outstanding athletic accomplishments of the 2023-2024 Leesburg High School Lady Lifters girls weightlifting team, urge all citizens of Leesburg to applaud their remarkable achievements, thank them for being exceptional ambassadors for our city, and wish them continued success in the upcoming years. Go Jackets. You guys hold this. Yeah, you get right in front. There you go. Our second proclamation is for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed in the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoils by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, James A. Burry, Mayor of the City of Leesburg, do hereby proclaim Friday, April the 26th, 2024, as Arbor Day in the City of Leesburg, and encourage all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. I further urge our residents to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Thank you. Do we have something? We got something for Cliff, Public Works Director. Go and get it. Okay, so we are going to pull item 5B1. Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Andy. We're going to pull item 5B1 this evening. We have some new information, and we don't want to be talking about that until we get everything on the plate. So at this point, we have a presentation from CAFR.
Good evening, Jim Williams, Finance Director. So I have Joel Knopf with MSL CPA firm here to talk to you about and give you the report for our 2023 audit.
Thanks, Jim. Morning, Mayor, Commissioners. A pleasure to be here. We're here to present the highlights of the audit, which was recently concluded for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2023 for the city. And if we go to the first slide here on required communications, there is a letter included in the agenda packet that goes through the details, but just want to highlight a couple items on the communications. First, our responsibilities as the auditors were to audit the financial statements of the city under generally accepted auditing standards, as well as government audit standards as required by Florida statute. And then we also look at Florida rules of the Auditor General, as well as the uniform guidance, which governs the city's federal grants. And so there's a lot of compliance that goes into this audit, a lot of reviews of compliance, as well as looking at internal controls over financial reporting. And management's responsibility is to maintain effective internal controls. It's not, we come in and check it, but it's management's responsibilities to make sure that those processes stay consistently followed through the year. We received representations at the conclusion of the audit that management gave us the information we requested. Jim Williams, as the finance director, was responsible and assigned to oversee the audit, and I'm pleased to report the audit schedule went as planned. The deadline for the city to submit its financial report to the Government Finance Officers Association was March 31st, so we're glad to be here presenting that. That was completed on time. So we'll go to the first slide here. Just want to point out our reports, which you'll find in the document. The opinion on the financial statements is found on pages 14 through 16, and that was unmodified, which is a clean opinion that the statements are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And then in the back of the document, you'll find the reports on compliance and internal controls. The report under government audit standards is on page 230, and there are no internal control findings or weaknesses or deficiencies that we had to report, so that was a clean report. Next slide. There was one federal grant that required us to look at it as a major program, meaning that we had to test it very specifically on internal controls over compliance, as well as whether the city was in compliance with the requirements of the grant, and that was the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds that the city's still spending down. And also that was a clean report as well, no compliance findings or internal control issues noted. And then the last two reports relate to Florida Auditor General requirements, Independent Accountants report on investment compliance, and then the Auditor's Management Letter, which covers a variety of topics, but those were also clean reports. Next slide. Just a few financial highlights to cover. The city-wide analysis, this is looking at the city's financial statements from a full accrual perspective, so it includes the long-term liabilities of the city as well as the capital assets. There's no significant concerns here. The net investment in capital assets continue to grow for both governmental and business type as the city continues to put more money into the capital investment. The unrestricted, which is really the discretionary net position, it's negative for the governmental activities because of the long-term pension and other post-employment benefit obligations. But that's, again, looking at a very long-term perspective, so not a concern from a short-term or annual operating perspective. The business-type activities continued to show good profit, $12.9 million in income, and an overall change in net position of $11.8 million. On the general fund side, again, positive results here. You'll see the unassigned fund balance, $14.3 million. That was 43% of total expenditures and transfers out, so that's very healthy as a reserve, and a positive net change in fund balance of $1.4 million. Next slide. And then from a budget compliance perspective, also good results here as the revenues came in $3.9 million over projection and resulted in a positive net change in fund balance of $3.5 million compared to budget. And those were my prepared remarks. I do want to express my appreciation to Jim and his team for, the hard work they put in throughout the year. It shows in the clean audit that was resulted, and also the fact that there were no adjusting entries we had to propose also shows that the city's recording its numbers correctly and points to good internal controls over financial reporting. So those were my remarks. So thank you very much.
Any questions? No. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
At this point, we'll have public comment. This section is reserved for members of the public to bring up matters of concern or opportunities for praise. Issues brought up will not be discussed in detail at this meeting. Issues will either be referred to the proper staff or will be scheduled for consideration at a future City Commission meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Would you please give your name and your address? Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Erica Jasper, 2110 Johns Avenue, Leesburg, Florida. I just wanted to come before the city and just give kudos to the city of Leesburg and Keep Lake Beautiful. On this past Saturday, we participated in our spring cleanup, and I'm happy to report that we had 41 volunteers broken up at different parks, Berry Park, Johnson Park, Susan Street, and also downtown trails. And we collected 5.14 tons of trash. Can you believe that? And I also want to give kudos to Cliff Kelsey, Diane Clinton, Sandra Wilson, and also Mr. Robert Alderman from the CRA, Carver Heights CRA. So thank you, job well done, and we look forward to doing it again. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Teresa Connor, 910 Georgia Avenue, Leesburg, Florida, and I am on the CRA commissioner. And I actually was just coming to thank Erica for coordinating the cleanup for the area. So thank you, Erica. And also, I have an open kind of invitation to you guys for April 20th. The MLK Dare to Care cancer program is going to be at the Rogers Park, and we start at 10 o'clock. This year, we're doing a panel, and we have like a young adult, 40 years old, that was just diagnosed with stage 4, colon cancer, and no symptoms at all till he showed up. And then we're going to do a woman aspect for uterine cancer as well. And then we have one individual that has been cancer-free with Hodgkin's lymphoma that's going to be on the panel for 30 years. And also for all those that are concerned about getting into a study for Alzheimer's, I have a nurse coming in from Orlando, which I think is very helpful. And we can try to get into this study program at an early age so that we can see whether or not we kind of fit into that category, and she can give us some helpful hints. So thank you for your time.
Other public comment?
There's a lot of tall people here. I just wanted to... okay. Jerry Seward, and I live at 5819 Greenbrier Loop. And I appreciate so many of the positive things. I've been here only 8 years, but I appreciate a lot of the positive things that have happened in Leesburg. But I also have a great concern about the traffic that has just gotten out of control here. You can't go to a grocery store or anything without a high level of stress getting on the roads. If you ever want to catch a flight at the airport, you can't get down to the turnpike. It's really, there's been a lot of development and there's a lot of positive from it, but I think we have to be careful about what we're doing and look at the infrastructure and make sure that we're keeping up, and instead of doing the development and then fixing the infrastructure and creating even bigger problems, maybe we can slow it down a little bit and just worry about the quality of the people who are living here. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Lay brother Stephen Gerard Sidlowski, visiting a snowbird all the way from Ohio. Beloved Mayor, Commissioners, and citizens, I am here to speak for the baby person peacefully developing in the pregnant mother's womb, so that this precious little person will always be preserved, protected, and safe in your wonderful city of Leesburg. The baby is a person in the womb. We ourselves started our journey of life as a person in our own mother's womb. With my MBA credentials from Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my BSEE engineering credentials from Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, I will be researching and analyzing your demographics and conservative vote tendencies for Leesburg and various cities in Lake County and throughout Florida while I continue to be in Florida. Since I served honorably in the U.S. Navy, both as enlisted and commissioned officer, I will defend the new constitutionality of personhood cities in Leesburg and Florida and throughout the USA. We all can do this because the U.S. Supreme Court threw out the 1973 Roe decision in 2022 with the new Dobbs decision. Leesburg citizens, please see me after this Leesburg City Council meeting, and I will provide you the proposed personhood resolution language that's now been submitted to your mayor and commissioners. Please have your phone cameras ready to take pictures of the crucial information is my suggestion and guidance. Some refresher memory stuff. I have enjoyed your past Leesburg Christmas parades with a Life and Peace vehicle on display. Please know, Mayor and Commissioners, that many Bible bookmarks were handed out during that Christmas parade in the past, so some citizens already know me. I look forward to continue to amplify the new personhood concept with your church leaders, business owners, and citizens. I hope many will find time to call and email City Hall in support of the voting passage of the personhood resolution now placed before you. Finally, I hope there will be a new Leesburg National Day of Prayer scheduled by May 2nd, the first Thursday of May before Mother's Day, and I would welcome participating in that new possibility. And I hope that all of you, after reviewing the personhood resolution, that you yourselves will guide your wonderful city manager to put it on your next agenda. That way, the personhood resolution can be debated, reviewed, and possibly passed between Mother's Day and Father's Day. Thank you. God bless you all.
Any other public comment? All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. Number one, pull the item or items from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call vote. And 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items anyone would like to pull? Nothing tonight? Motion to approve.
Motion to approve all items.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Cunnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Six. Stuff straight. All right. At this point, we'll move on to item 6, public hearings and non-routine items. Would someone please introduce, under the second reading of ordinances, 6A1?
I'll introduce 6A1 to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, adding a PDO, Plan Development Overlay, with the waiver from Section 25-282, parentheses A, parentheses 1, PDO, 5-acre minimum, to the existing R3 high-density residential zoning on approximately 0.22 plus minus acres to allow for an office, retail, and classroom uses for a property generally located south of East Main Street and west of Mike Street, lying in Section 25, Township 19 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. Dan Miller, Planning and Zoning. This is a request from the Community Development Corporation of Leesburg for a plan development overlay to allow office, retail, and classroom uses. The property is generally located on the west side of Mike Street and south of East Main, as you can see here on the aerial map. It's about 0.22 acres. The lot goes all the way through from Mike Street to Childs, which makes it a double frontage lot. The property is zoned R3 high-density residential. The proposed uses are office, retail, and classrooms. No negative impacts are anticipated by staff on this, very similar to the same PDO you did down the street. This is also, historic fact, the office of Mr. James Durden, who was one of, if not the first, African-American attorney in Lake County. Ms. Tiffany Portier with the CDC is here to answer any other questions that you may have.
Any questions for Dan? Any questions for Tiffany from the CDC?
I have a question. I thought this was in the first reading, the Medicare building, a Medicare business or something that was coming on board.
Could you repeat that, please, Commissioner?
For the first reading, the question was asked, wasn't this for a business of Medicare that's coming?
I think yes, it allows, I don't remember if it was Medicare or whether there was some kind of use, office-type use. From a zoning standpoint, it's just office.
Okay. So what is the classrooms? What is the classroom and the industrial?
The classroom could be for any of the classes the CDC wants to share with different people, financial management or anything like that, running a business, anything that they may do. It's not a very large building, so you wouldn't be able to get a real large group of people in there.
Just a little not clear on that. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. No questions for Tiffany? Do we have any public comment on this? No public comment? Roll call.
We don't have a motion.
Oh, it's a first. We need to.
This is second reading.
The second reading.
Oh, sorry.
We didn't have a motion.
Yeah, we got to have a motion.
Move for approval.
Yes.
Second. Excuse me.
Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Barry?
No.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. All right. Someone would please introduce 6A2.
I'll introduce 6A2 to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Article 4, Chapter 9, Elections, providing for 5 single-member commissioner districts, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Anybody got questions? You got something else?
Yeah, this is just essentially when we changed to the 5 district seats for city commission, and we had the referendum when we placed the modifications in the charter, but there were references to the commission seats in different places in the city code. So this ordinance transfers the referendum, which is already in the charter, into the pertinent sections in city code. So this is a housekeeping item.
Legal, right?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. Mr. Minner said it perfectly.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Commissioner Barry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Move on to 6B, first reading of ordinances. Would someone please introduce items 1, 2, and 3?
I'll introduce 6B 1, 2, and 3 to be read by title only.
6B1, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, annexing certain real property consisting of approximately 47.68 plus minus acres, being generally located east of U.S. Highway 27 and north of Windmill Road, lying in Section 25, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, provided that said property so annexed shall be liable for its proportionate share of the existing and future indebtedness of said city, provided that such annexed property shall be subject to all laws and ordinances of said city, as if all such territory had been a part of the City of Leesburg at the time of passage and approval of said laws and ordinances, providing that such annexed territory shall be placed in City Commission District 3, and providing an effective date. 6B2, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan of the City of Leesburg, changing the future land use map designation of certain property containing 47.68 plus minus acres from Lake County rural transition to city estate residential for property generally located east of U.S. Highway 27 and north of Windmill Road, lying in Section 25, Township 20 South, Range 24 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date. 6B3, an ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, changing the zoning on approximately 147.40 plus minus acres from City of Leesburg PUD to City of Leesburg PUD planned unit development to allow for a single-family residential development for property generally located east of U.S. Highway 27 and north of Windmill Road, lying in Sections 25, 36, and 30, Township 20 South, Ranges 24 and 25 East, Lake County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Ann. Dan, if you'd give us a little overview, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This subject property is generally located east of US 27 and north of Windmill Road. As you can see here on the aerial map, currently there's a PUD zoning on the eastern and southern portion of this property, which encompasses about 100 acres, right, 99 and change. The goal of this proposal is to add 47 plus or minus acres. And Anna, if you would put up the other slide, please. Basically what, and it would go to the next one, please. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So as you can see, there are the properties here on the east and here on the south. Those are currently under PUD zoning in the City of Leesburg, and they were done in 2022. I believe it was Ordinance 2246. The property that's under the annexation and comp plan application is this 47 acres right here. As you can see, the gray here, the city limits of Leesburg, the white being Lake County. So it essentially takes the effort of filling in a bit of an enclave here for us. The request is to change the future land use designation from Lake County Rural to City of Leesburg Estate Residential, which would match the adjacent adjoining properties. And by simply extending this adding this property, it goes from the 99 acres to 147 plus or minus. What we've done under the permitted uses in this PUD is leave everything to detached single-family residential. There are 3 lot sizes, 50, 60, and 70s, and a real good mix of those lot sizes. The 50s are about 37%, the 60s are 33%, and the 70s are about 29%, a total of 402 units. Under the previous, with the 2 properties to the south and the east, it was 271. So it's essentially just adding some lots to the development. The density remains the same at 2.7 units per acre as it was previously. On all of the lots, there are architectural standards required, a minimum house size of 1,800 square feet, 2-car garages, 25-foot front setbacks. There are gutter requirements on all lots with less than 15 feet in between the structures. We're requiring dark sky lighting. Did I say 2 trees in each yard? The 35% open space. There are access points along. There's an access point along Highway 27, and there are stub-out accesses to the north and to the east to allow for interconnectivity. There's also a roundabout on the property, which will be just on the other side of where the railroad, the old power line easement runs through, right about in here. There would be 1.85 acres, or about 80,000 square feet, reserved for recreational activities, including a swimming pool, dog park, trail system, children's playground. All the other requirements are the standard PUD requirements, including the protections for wetlands, restrictions on the types of grass for less water usage, and requirements with working with FDOT and Lake County for any and all necessary transportation improvements. With that, Mr. Mayor, if there's any other questions.
Sure. Any questions for Dan?
I don't have any questions, but I got some comments on the project, but I don't know if this is an appropriate time to address them or wait the second reading.
No, we can talk a little bit about it tonight. We're going to have some public comment somebody has asked. So is the petitioner here, Dan, or
Luke Clausen?
Any comments? You're given an opportunity to speak if you want. But,
Luke Clausen, Appian Engineering, 2221 New Road. Just here to answer any questions. I agree with everything Dan said, and I appreciate all Dan and Candy's hard work with the project. My client, Pulte Homes, they originally were going to move forward with the project, but as you're well aware, there were some wastewater capacity concerns and some delays. And so during the delays with wastewater capacity, they were able to pick up this additional property. And so they just wanted to take the exact same PUD they had, just add on 47 acres.
Did anybody have questions for the petitioner? No? No, I don't. Thank you. Public comment on this.
Thank you. My name is Mario Knapp. I live at 27548 Stony Brook Drive in Leesburg, about a mile and a half south of, or north of where this development's going to go. I'm opposed to this development due to the increase in traffic, and that will bring to an already congested network of roads. And this is a real safety hazard. The health and safety of the residents of Leesburg in this area hang in the balance with every new development that you guys approve. For 2024, Florida is already ranked second, bested only by Texas, as the state with the most car-related fatalities. Last year, it was number 1. And there was a fatality just north of this, about a mile or so north of this of Windmill Road earlier this year, where a motorist ran over a cyclist. So the roads are already pretty congested, and we don't need another, 270 going to 400 homes? We already have 33,000 homes on the books. And that's going to go up next month when you guys approve Secret Promise. And I was invited to it.
Actually, that's incorrect, okay? Yeah. Just on that one. Secret Promise was a PUD, or actually a DRI. It was approved back in the early 2000s for 6,800 units. So the action the commission is taking next month is ostensibly changing Secret Promise to the villages.
It's going to
so
go
it's still included, and actually the number's 30,000, not 33, but it's close. But secret promise action next month does not change the unit number.
Well, the original secret promise had commercial development in it, a lot of commercial development. The village's commercial, it was going to have very little commercial development and probably about 8,000 homes. So it's going to be an additional maybe 1,500 homes over what was in the original secret promise. So it is going to go up.
That's my piece, Mr. Mayor.
That's fine.
So, so I was invited to attend the safety workshop by FLDOT on the 26th of February. And one of my recommendations was to put a moratorium on new developments, rezonings and annexations until we get some infrastructure in place. And the results of that, these meetings will be announced in, I think, the middle of May. So whether or not the philosophy gets adopted is up to you guys, because you have the power to put a moratorium in place or just put a hold on rezonings and annexations so that you don't put the risk of the existing residents of the city, you don't put the lives at risk of the existing residents of the city of Leesburg. Thank you for your time. I'm running out.
Any other public comment? All right. We had commission comment on?
I do have several. I did touch on them a couple meetings ago. I do think we have to slow down this growth. I mean, I think it's got out of control, as I spoke about in the past. Difference between smart growth and out of control growth. I mean, when you're looking at 30,000 available lots already in the city, how much more do we need to annex in? I mean, if you take a look at, several factors. I mean, the latest concurrency report from the school board is our high school's at 90%. Our elementary schools are at 80, and that's not even remotely counting the 30,000 lots that's already been approved in the city. I mean, how much more can we really add? Our infrastructure, transportation, it's terrible. I mean, we couldn't even remotely support the lots that are already in the city now that have been approved for development. Couldn't even remotely support that type of traffic. I mean, if you're in South Leesburg and you're trying to get to the city from South Leesburg, it's one way. I mean, you got one choice. It's a two-lane road. It's horrible. And all we do is continue to add more and more lots. I think we really need to take a step back and put a pause on this. Our own infrastructure. I mean, it seems like every other year we're having to add sewer capacity for millions and millions of dollars, or we're having to apply to increase our consumptual use permit for the more water. I mean, how much more can we really add? I mean, I think we've got plenty to work with at 30,000. It's just, I just think we really need to rethink this growth issue some. And like I said, I know we're not voting on it tonight. I just want to throw it out there for food for thought.
Any other comments? Okay. This issue will come back to us. Dan, did you have a...
Actually, it would be June 10th. I misspoke, Andy. It's June 10th.
June 10th?
Yes, sir.
Since we'll have a second reading on this on June 10th. Okay, so we'll move on to non-routine items, which we have none. Informational reports, we have none. City attorney items.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
City manager item?
I had that one agendized item, which I'll speak to in a minute, which was Commissioner Reisman's request to give you a Bike Fest update. Before I jump into that, though, I just wanted to revisit with everybody so everybody has the same information on why we pulled that one item, 5B1, which was actually a piggyback contract through FMPA for consulting with Quantum. So in this situation, believe it or not, the GE contract that when we went to Smart Grid those years ago, the GE contract is set to expire December 31st, 2026. So not quite 2 years. It will be expired. In essence, just a very high-level review, GE has quasi put us on notice that they probably don't seek to renew that contract with us. And if we exited early, they would probably be happy with that. I think the long story short there, why does GE not want to service the meters anymore, is essentially measuring electric consumption is not a business endeavor that they wish to go into in the future. We're one of their last remaining municipal electric utility customers. And that was a deal, as you all know, was put together quite some time ago, actually probably before all of us were in our current positions. In any case, we're charged with the review of that situation. One of the paths that our Brad Chase, our electric director, wanted to go down was to get some consulting help to start reviewing and start preparing for a large RFP that would seek market to seek a marketplace request for proposals on how to replace the GE contract. And as we slowly moved into that, we have a team put together which is made up of Brad, obviously our electric director, Tino Anthony, our IT director, and Jim Williams, our finance director, and myself, to review and go through this. Obviously, the three, Jim, Tino, and Brad, are doing the heavy lifting, and I'm there as a sounding board and to review what's going on. But in short, we think there may be some other options through a sub-consultant of GE to help us replace these meters in the future. So we're optimistic that that's going to be a reasonable approach, one that hopefully provides, hopefully just an overlap, a seamless transition from GE to the next company, and we'll be working on that the next couple months. So before we move down the road of a fuller consulting expenses, we put that request on hold. And the truth of the matter is, I pulled that last month, and I failed to pull it this month. So that one slipped by me in agenda review. But I have every confidence that we're headed down the right path. Barring any questions on that, let me move into Bike Fest. I submitted in your package kind of where we're headed. I think a lot of things are moving forward in a positive direction. If you recall, I think back in October, we made an allocation from cash for $500,000 to set aside from Bike Fest, and our purpose was $500,000 out and hopefully $500,000 in, or maybe a little more, plus or minus, which we won't know until after Bike Fest. So in short, we provided you an expense report in there. Our expenses on Bike Fest to date are $337,423 of the $500,000, and our revenue in is $273,900. So we've spent not the full amount, and we've recovered about half of the amount in revenue. So we're hanging in there. Most of those other numbers, like the biggest revenue item is the vendor and novelty, so we get a cut on those sales. That we're very hopeful that fills the rest of the bucket to where we break even. And then we also have a spreadsheet in there on the alcohol sales. The alcohol sales, I think, was showing, and you're spinning to it, it shows, it really shows a marginal profit of only about $6,000. But let me explain that. I think we did a good approach on our cost for alcohol, our expenses with the chamber deal. But the big issue that we are having is insurance for alcohol. We are working with Brown & Brown, and we are working with Lasherware. And on that note, I feel confident that we will have insurance by the time Bike Fest comes. What I'm not comfortable about today is how much that insurance will cost. We've got insurance where we have very good liability coverages and good protection, but that exposure, that expense for that insurance for the weekend is about $80,000. Then we've gotten really super great quotes of about $20,000 for insurance, but those coverage protections are horrible. So it's not something we want to recommend. We continue to work through this to try to get the best insurance. We're trying to get the best coverage with the least expenditure that we have, and really will be up against probably up to about a week to the event before we really need to make an internal call on go expensive or did we find something good. So what I hope I have provided you today is go expensive to show you a worst case scenario on where we're at as far as our expenses. And that shows about a break even on alcohol sales. And then if the novelties come up, we're looking at hopefully worst case scenario, a break even. Also, let me throw out there, and I put the amount on the not the bottom line on that alcohol estimation spreadsheet that's in your package. We received $100,000 from the partnership, I think back in the fall. They said we would get another check when they formally closed out their books. We did. They gave us another $150,000, and those monies represent. It totals now about $250,000. Not about. It was $250,000. Brandy, I have asked Brandy McDaniels, our budget director, to put that into a reserved pocket. That's for events. So, if we're over under, that's where that money will come from versus having to lose it from general funds. So we've got $250,000 of cushion. That number is important too because that was the number that the partnership folks, when they came asking us to, that was part of their consideration of closing down shop. There was, that's all they have. Returns on Bike Fest hadn't been as great, so it was really that loss minus that $250 cash over probably the next 3 years is what they were estimating. Hence, we can't do this anymore now. We have the event. So financially, that's where we're at. Our the biggest struggle right now is where we're going to go with insurance. I think I gave you a good summary there. The only thing I would add to that summary is that if we go with that more conventional, more expensive insurance, we will actually be able to pull the trigger and get that done probably in a couple of days because it will get underwritten very quickly. And so worst case scenario is we'll have insurance by Bike Fest, but it could be around 80 to 100 grand. The last document that was in there is kind of the show, the bands that we've brought in, the schedule for the events. I think Maggie and Travis have done a good job getting this organized, working with all the vendors. Sandy over at the Chamber continues to work to get the alcohol stuff and those sales things set up. So we move rapidly towards Bike Fest here in a couple of weeks, and I think it should go well. And it basically comes down to those last few vendor things and the insurance.
So with the insurance, we have to make a call on that at the next meeting, I would have.
No, well, technically you don't. You've given me authority to spend up to 100 grand.
Up to 100 now.
So as long as that insurance doesn't go over 100 grand, which I feel pretty confident it won't, because I know the latest quote that we got on that was 80 for good coverage. And Jim's team constantly works with Brown & Brown and Lassiter Ware, so feel pretty confident that we'll probably get insurance for within my spending authority. If it goes over that, you elevate it specifically for this event and only this event. So if insurance goes over that number, yeah, I'll be back to you and special meeting or the 22nd or something. But I don't anticipate that will be the case.
I would just ask, since we'll have numbers for us this year, next year we do get the numbers for the RFP for the third party to do it so we can look at all the options.
Okay, duly noted. And my anticipation for next year, too, is to have this laid out in the budget process. So when we get into the budget workshops, we'll have a Bike Fest section. And what I'd like to do is we'll know before you guys start dealing with the budget in July what the numbers were and profit loss and what we do. And then I would really, my goal is I'm assuming the positive is that everybody's going to love Bike Fest. They're going to want us to keep doing Bike Fest. So then I would like to have a Bike Fest section in the budget. And then that will give us opportunity, Commissioner, to talk about your issue.
Roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Nothing for tonight.
Commissioner Cunnell?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Reisman?
A couple things. Just want to say that the Leesburg Chamber of Commerce put on a very successful fish fry the other night. It was a great event. It's a staple in our community. Also, I have had quite a few people reach out to some issues and concerns, and I directed them to the city website to fill out the citizen request. And I've gotten a lot of thanks from our Public Works Department to the police that the staff is already addressing those issues. So thank you. Look forward to seeing everyone out at Bike Fest, and a huge thank you to the Leesburg Special Events Department and all the other city departments that helped make this event a very successful one. So thank you.
Mayor Burry.
Yeah, just one thing. We had some concerned citizens last time concerned about what's going on Pine Street, and I think we've got some things happening in the next 3 weeks where you're actually going to see more activity, some sidewalks being repoured, and the electricity is going to be run underground instead of overhead. So those things are moving forward. It's getting better. So just bear with us, please. It's going to be beautiful when it's done. And other than that, I have nothing.
Second.
We're done.